notice in verse 17 it says that Judas was numbered with us and obtained a part in his ministry. Judas wasn't an outsider, but Judas was an insider. He was one of the 12. And it's interesting, Jesus taught his disciples and taught us that we should love our enemies, right? And really, Jesus can say that because Jesus lived that out on a daily basis. You have to realize that from the moment that Jesus chose Judas as an apostle, Jesus knew that Judas was going to betray him. I mean, imagine that. Imagine making a friend and making them a close friend with somebody you knew was going to end up leading to your death. I mean, all through the scriptures, you see Jesus saying, listen, one of you will betray me. One of you is the son of perdition. All these things Jesus keeps saying. But at the Last Supper, when Jesus said, listen, one of you will betray me, nobody in the room said, it's Judas. We know it's Judas. Because every time every time Jesus is toasting the bread over the fire, the burnt piece he gives to Judas. Or every time Judas says something, Jesus ignores him. Tells him to go shut up or something. They all said, is it I, Lord? See, Jesus loved Judas the way he loved all of his other disciples. He didn't love Judas any differently. So the reality of loving our enemies, we learn that not because Jesus tells us to, but because Jesus lived it out as well. And listen, we live in a day and age where humanity is fracturing, isn't it? It's unbelievable at the rate that there is fracturing within, not only just in America, but geopolitically. And, if you ask people, if you say to them, hey, listen, who's the most Christ-like person that you know? Or you've ever heard of? Most people don't name a Christian. Most people would name Gandhi. I mean, think about that. The most Christ-like person that people can think of is a Hindu. That's a problem for the church, isn't it? Because the idea of being a Christian, people think of a religion. People think of an affinity group that's being used for political purposes, as opposed to thinking of people who are Christ-like. See, we are called to love our enemies because Jesus first loved his enemies. I mean, on the cross, the people who nailed Jesus to the cross, he's on the cross praying for them. And we really want to learn from that. We really want to grab hold of that. Because it's so easy to think, well, I just don't like them, and they don't treat me well. No, listen. As people who are Christ-like, we are called to love those who treat us wrong. We're called to pray for people who spitefully use us and abuse us. That's exactly what Jesus did with Judas. Jesus always knew that Judas would betray him. But he treated him no differently than he treated Peter, John, James, or all of the men that we saw last week. He was numbered. He was a part of the ministry there. On a side note, I don't want to spend too much time here, but, a lot of us are here today and we've been hurt by people close to us. And we think to ourselves, I can't get over this. I feel betrayed by them. And that's why Jesus is such a great high priest. Because Jesus knows what it's like to be betrayed by someone closest to them. So if you're here today and you're just broken, you know that there's a heart wound because of something that somebody who's close to you has done to you. Listen, bring it to Jesus and let Jesus minister to you. Because Jesus knows what it's like to be misunderstood. He knows what it's like to be betrayed by the people closest to him. He knows what it's like to be denied by one of his apostles in his very hour of need. So that wound that you have, Jesus can sympathize with that wound because he's experienced it. But yet he's without sin. But yet Jesus knows that pain and can minister to you from a place of compassion